I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Gary Webb. I am an investigative journalist, and in 1996 I wrote a series of stories entitled Dark Alliance, which was about CIA involvement in drug trafficking.
I knew a man who once said death smiles at us all. All a man can do is smile back.
We've both been skull and bone, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go on.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the rest.
Number 322.
I sad duty to report this afternoon that my friend and colleague, Tim Russert, collapsed and died early this afternoon.
I may die in this cell tonight or in the arena tomorrow. I am a slave. What possible difference can I make?
And no official of my administration, whether his rank is high or low, civilian or military, should interpret my words here tonight as an excuse to censor the news, to stifle dissent, to cover up our mistakes, or to withhold from the press and the public the facts they deserve to know.
Hello, welcome back to your favorite weekly parapolitical conspiracy call-in show, Already Dead, with your always host, Jose Galison and Austin Picard. I don't know why, something about the intro today came off a little weird. I don't know what it is. Came off a little clunky. My bad, I fucking fucked that up. But we're here today, guys, and I think as of right now, I think we're roughly valued around $50 million at the start of the show, per CBS standards, if you've been paying attention to the going rates of podcasts or shows these days. Keep it up, Austin. We're quite in business. Yeah, I think it's I titled a segment on my show today, "The Fumbling of the Antichrist," and I think that's kind of, I think maybe that's the theme of the week, the fumbling of the Antichrist. That feels like what we're seeing, all this big hype, the lizard people of like, oh, the Antichrist, and they're trying this inversion fake out. And in fact, like it literally is, I don't think there's going to be an Antichrist. I think they're going to fumble the bag so hard, it's going to be quite ridiculous to see. They are going to completely hollow out any sort of semblance of organic following to, or even the dumbest of people know that it's BS. And then we rule above the rubble after Israel's nuked us all, my friend.
Oh God, dude, I will say the headline on the Jerusalem Post caught my eye instantly. Right, it said, "God bless the peacemaker," right, and I've just seen like so much of this, what I would describe as peace in the Middle East, ceasefire kayfabe, just the very much pageantry, I think, from mostly every direction, but specifically considering this conflict, as we should all know by now. I mean, Israel instantly violated the ceasefire, right? I mean, they're bombing during this alleged peace making phase one, right, which is absolutely ridiculous. And what was it, even the cover of Time I thought was hilarious, because did you see all the hilarious grab him by the neck pussy memes that have developed?
I didn't. I saw that I covered this morning that Trump was apparently pretty upset about it. It was kind of funny that I guess they wrote a fluff piece and he just couldn't get away from the fact that they took him at took a picture and a very unflattering photo of him.
It was bad.
It was pretty bad, but
it's so bad. And there's this, like, I've seen, did you even, you had mentioned last week how Gavin Newsom just sort of figured out the social media, at least being able to troll in a sort of, silly way that's not quite off-putting, at least as often as he once was. But this is in no way. I had someone in the comments I think they were upset because basically they took what you said, they misinterpreted as some sort of like, approval,
love of Gavin Newsom.
Yeah. I'm like, what?
I found a couple of his
Really
memes
didn't
funny, so therefore I'm voting Democrat in California now.
Exactly. I'm like, what? How could you come away with that? But still, he had. I saw like his office had tweeted out a picture of the throat pussy, right, and then basically had like had the hair at a perfect spot where it just like looked completely like it was actually a vagina.
You could see the vagina, like kind of like the perfect hair kind of thing. Yeah, like coming out. Yeah, I got it. I can imagine it.
Too funny, but yeah, what did they say? His triumph, right? The leader Israel needed, right? How Gaza heals, and allegedly they're returning to their homes, which no longer exist. And if you look at the overhead shots, right, of just the aftermath and what has really taken place, the true like just like the level of damage, and I think complete and total destruction in the area is just, I don't know how anybody could spin this right in a positive way, as if everything that was intended to be achieved wasn't right successfully it all seemed to come to fruition, and now they're going to in a very strategic way just control the narrative, and I think that's very much what's taking place in this moment. And I mean, come on, the face of Time magazine, as if you're a legitimate peacemaker and you've been presiding over a genocide, right? Like this is how political theater is conducted and orchestrated before our eyes, and so just this worshiping of the political puppets, which always tends to take place, is just once more misunderstanding and a misconception, considering the power structure, and how it really exists in reality itself.
Well, even there was I did this morning in my show, I kind of made a segment riffing off the Antichrist thing, and I jumped to this J.D. Vance thing, and then I kind of then juxtaposed that versus because J.D. Vance is like the anointed one, and then I then also there was this MTG went on Tim Dillon's show this past week, and there was one clip that kind of made the rounds about how essentially she's actually the appointed one. I want to be very clear. I've been very appreciative of a lot of the things she said as of late, and I will admit it does very much come off as organic, but the support from her or at least her support, she kind of just feels like maybe whatever, she's some sort of controlled op. I'm open to that completely, but it seems pretty authentic. But anyways, the point kind of I'm driving at is even just the idea of like, oh, you're the anointed one. It's like, why do we fucking stop with this fucking like the next one? Like it just fucking just stop. Like if anything, that's kind of, I mean, hell, even with I think some of the craziness has gone a little bit out of hand in some spots. The Kirk investigation, and it's somewhat being, I guess, sort of being done influencer-like through like the Candaces of the world. I actually think in a weird way, it's actually kind of been a more productive than, ironically, like the actual probably law enforcement system so far as investigation goes. So my point being is it's kind of like we're in a weird way kind of creating the future, and it's like, oh no, what would we do if law enforcement exists? I don't know. The internet would fucking solve crimes. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure we have to figure out some sort of other criminal justice system to go along with it, but it's not like, I don't know, this idea that we can't solve things without the government doing it, without some dude with a gun saying, hey, motherfucker, like, I think we can figure out a lot of these things. A lot, like as simple as like, hey, Israel's killing all their neighbors. We don't really need an elected official to tell us that. But if they're going to, that's nice, but it doesn't mean they're going to get my votes or any of my fucking time come 4 years from now. And if anything, that's the trick. You need to be like, I mean, to some extent, that is like the catnip that keeps the politicians coming for you, but also to some extent, you can be like, well, I mean, you ain't getting it. Sorry.
Right. No. And I just, seeing the kind of language being used, which has been par for the course, right? Just throughout this administration, but Trump saying, "I'm proud to be the best friend that Israel's ever had," right? And did you see that individual being forcefully dragged out of the Knesset during his speech? Yeah, it was very interesting. Some sort of left-wing member of the Israeli Knesset was dragged out from President Trump's speech as he heckled, I guess, and interrupted, and then Trump responded, and he's like, "Well, that was very efficient removal." Like he was all, yeah. I just thought it was hilarious, and then the entire room burst into applause, right? And it was just disgusting, and then the most recent Miriam Adelson in attendance, and then obviously Erica Kirk as well, right, receiving this posthumous award from the White House administration today, used as just another kind of political tool brought to. Yeah, he addressed her personally
in the Knesset.
No. This was I believe earlier today. Yeah.
Okay,
I'm not
right. I thought you were saying this was part almost an addendum to his Knesset speech. I'd be like, that'd be really weird.
Right? Yeah.
Time to address Kirk at the. Okay, go on. Sorry.
For real. No, you're good. I just thought, the current and former U.S. ambassadors. You saw that Mike Huckabee and
yep, Sweet Home
David Friedman,
Jerusalem or whatever the fuck.
Dude,
yeah.
What the hell? That is just ridiculous to me that they're performing this kind of. It's just, once again, it's like I feel like we're in this post-reality phase of just the media cycle in general and the political class. It's so strange to witness. I feel like I don't know. I do definitely feel as if I'm being gaslit by design in a very specific and strategic way, right? But also at a level to where it seems like it's hard not to almost be clown pilled in a way, right? Where you feel like it's all just so absolutely ridiculous, and people are eating it up.
Witnessing like a great Babylon's working, but occurring from Mike Huckabee or something.
For real,
the absurdity of it all. It's actually really just like this intricate fucking, stagecraft spell that he's casting on the world, a la Aleister Crowley. That would totally check out at this point. Yeah.
Hey, but I mean, all these ISIS gangs that were, utilized and funded and financed and armed and trained by, they were legitimate ISIS militia gangs that were, formed by the IDF and trained by Israel specifically, and then utilized to kind of cause chaos in the just as far as in the conflict zones, and utilize them in the context of, as far as like in the forefront of the media, labeling those groups as if they were Gaza militias, right? And that were committing these atrocities against even their own people, right? Palestinians and things of that nature. And in reality, it was just a pretext and a tool to utilize for that very purpose in order to escalate whenever the case is necessary. And it's just interesting to see the collaboration playing out, and how I think it's still very it's extremely efficient for one, but then you also have this case. Did you see of the children's toys that were found that were booby trapped with these explosive devices, and also canned food as well, right?
The unexploded ordnances left behind. Yeah.
Which again, it's like, this is not shocking to me. It's something that I very much would kind of expect at this point. But at the same time, I would think the vast majority of people who haven't been following this as closely would definitely find that to be just, I don't know. I feel like the concept of allowable opinion at a certain level has been pushed in this dystopian kind of just into this dystopian environment, or just like direction, to where we no longer are as emotionally affected by a lot of this. And I think that is a part of the demoralization campaign at large, and I think it's achieving some of what, just as far as like pushing that that kind of just borderline, or I don't know, just the fundamental acceptance of
we've had the to get at what you're saying right here, we had the Bolter assassination. Where did he kill one or two people? I forget. Bolter, Vance Bolter. He killed at least one, maybe two. I think he took a couple shots at some other people. There was supposedly a list. Then people quibble back and forth. Was that left wing? Was that right wing? I mean, hell, even before that, we had some of the weird Cybertruck, this, that. Like, we're just getting it's almost like this, just kind of the spin before we can even, it's like the influencer cycle or the news cycle. Like, this thing happens, we dissect it, but the rate at which they're churning and the levels of intensity you're essentially, I almost said ovulating, but, undulating in such a way that we can't really get a grip of it. And it just kind of keeps coming and coming and coming, and we're getting hit with one thing after another. I mean, we had that one judge's house that fucking exploded, who she was a judge who had apparently ruled on a bunch of stuff that related to Trump. I don't know how legit that is. Her husband's also was a senator. So there's like a bunch that I'm forgetting. I mean, it's just we've been getting these events churned, and it is like, I mean, hell, I literally just did a Years of Lead episode this year or this week, and it feels like, I mean, a year ago or 2 years ago, talking about the real life being, or our current existence essentially resembling Years of Lead sounded a little bit hyperbolic, but now we're getting to the point to where you are like, yeah. And it almost sort of doesn't bother you. I mean, not bother you, but it almost doesn't really phase you. It's just kind of like, yeah, that's where we're at. And it's a weird predicament to be in, I think. By the way, just for those who are wondering, in about 15 minutes, we're probably going to open up the phone lines. And then about an hour or so into the show, we'll bring on patrons and stuff. And so you guys will get the video call option then, but we're going to open the phone line in probably about 15 minutes. But yeah, just to kind of, describe with real world events what you're describing, Austin. I think that's what you were trying to drive at here. That is like we are sort of getting deadened to it in a sense. I
just can't believe how quickly we seem to forget about the latest scandal, let's say, and I think that's also by design. But I mean, just in January we had that Cybertruck bombing, but then we also had that
parade
New Orleans
thing
attack, right?
Yeah,
the New Orleans parade attack with that was also some sort of remember, it was some kind of electric vehicle of some kind. I think it was, but still. And then also at that very same time, I just recently was reading the manifesto from the Antioch shooting that happened in January. I think it was January 22nd of this year as well, when that Nashville shooting took place at Antioch High School, and that Solomon Henderson, I believe, was the individual perpetrator. He was like a 17-year-old black kid, and he I believe he targeted an individual black female student and killed her, and then killed himself. So there wasn't very many casualties, which I think it might be another reason why it didn't get a whole lot of media coverage. But still, like, reading through that manifesto it's insane, right? And like it checks every single box, right? Like the very first page is a symbol with the black sun in the background. And it also, it starts by saying accelerationist, accelerate, accelerate, accelerate. And it's so interesting because it's called the Nigger Cell Manifesto. And it starts, the very first word is involuntary nigga. That's what it is, like, legitimately, which is just fascinating. And you read through it all. There's an MK Ultra portion. It's like a 288-page manifesto. And I legitimately spent my weekend reading mass shooting manifestos, like 100%, and the journals from the Columbine shooters as well. And then I also watched all of the surveillance footage from the high school cafeteria.
And why is that, Austin?
Yeah, dude. I'm fully committed. I finally officially decided on a Columbine episode, and it should be published hopefully by ideally the latest will be by next Monday. So
you'll have to give our homie Jolly on Klebold a shout out. You'll have to go refer to some of his old he's got a lot of great content on if you go dig through his account too. So if you need any, I might have them bookmarked. I might even have a Columbine folder But yeah, I also did a series with him forever ago. So,
I remember.
but
I
yeah,
actually listened to it back in the day.
Radix did a good episode where she archived a lot of the research he did. So I think she did a better job than I did. So
yeah, I noticed that she did a Columbine episode. So I'll have to. I'll definitely have to go and listen to it, at least for a reference point. But yeah, I'm fully. I am. Let's just say balls deep in the research as far as just this specific case is concerned, again, as is always the case, I find myself at the crossroads where there's a child sex ring, an occult organization attached to this, mind control, basically trauma-based mind control experimentation on Eric Harris as young as 10 years old. It was legitimately being conducted upon him in the subterranean bunkers of the Plattsburgh Air Force Base. And this was the family, Wayne and Eric, they were living on Plattsburgh Air Force Base after it was shut down and still only operating for classified missions. And it allegedly had like this particle accelerator as well, which I didn't realize that apparently this is like a major sort of a major covert operational hub, right? And it makes a lot of sense when you kind of come to find the surrounding areas, including Littleton, being very much compromised, right? And I think that includes all the local officials, the police chiefs, the deputies of the sheriff's department. Jefferson County itself seemed to be fully compromised. Like if someone sent me...
Jolly's theory was something along the lines of it was almost like one of those, some sort of either witness protection town or almost one of those like created intel towns or something like that, which is ironically kind of a lot of what we're seeing with the UVU stuff over in Utah. You know, frequently we're seeing these characters who are a little shady, but it is like these are glow towns, and there are glow towns around the world, and there are, I mean, they got to put these people's fucking somewhere, you know? So, because yeah, there was one of the big things, I think there was an informant, I believe, that they were able to tell through some of the documents, and I believe through the redactions they're able to tell there were like confidential informants, and that makes you wonder what the hell they're able to find out. That I think that even the confidential informant might have had felonies as well, if I recall, because there's certain ways you're able to tell these documents. But yeah, it's a weird, that is quite the rabbit hole. People wouldn't realize how far the rabbit hole goes on Columbine. It seemingly might connect to things like PatCon and like kind of other such things, and yeah, it goes deep. It goes deep, homeboy, for sure. So yeah,
and it's very strange as well. Like the district attorney, his name was Dave Thomas, and he would instantly receive a promotion after he was kind of like, this is so strange, because there was so the chief of police during Columbine happened to also be this same individual, Dave Thomas, who prior to becoming the chief of police was apparently the district attorney, right? And so this is very strange to me, because it looks as if he faced I mean, just as far as the ridiculous police response, this was like an hour-long shooting that took place, and they didn't even go into the high school itself until after Eric and Dylan had committed suicide, which, you know, there's still many different witnesses claiming, who were personal friends of Eric and Dylan, that they specifically saw the third shooter, knew him, and identified him as well. And it's very interesting in terms of that specifically, right? Because there was definitely multiple shooters involved, more so than Dylan and Eric. And they allegedly initially wanted to use the propane bombs and the pipe bombs and it to be a bombing first, and secondarily a shooting, and actually be waiting on the outside for the individual students to kind of like flee from the bombing and then pick them off as they run out, is essentially what they were planning, allegedly. But
by the way, I just realized I was conflating some of Jollion's Columbine and Sandy Hook information. I was like, shit, yeah, they're so similar. I always mix the two up. So sorry if it didn't apply to one, it applied to the other. So 50-50.
I'm telling you, man, it's fascinating though how many military intelligence links there are. Like, it wasn't just Wayne Harris, his father, who was specifically linked to military intelligence. It was also his grandfather on his mother's side. So his mother's father was military intelligence. And then it was even worse than that. I'm telling you right now, dude, like as far as the ridiculous notion of the kind of trenchcoat mafia attachment there, I think it's a very loose affiliation. And especially toward the end, at the very least, no one was really wearing trench coats except really Dylan. And he wasn't wearing them every day or anything, but still, it seems as if Lockheed and Martin basically ran the town of Littleton, and I didn't realize how much there were these official contracts where you have basically you have a 39,000 population as far as like the citizens at the time in the area, and this is in Littleton, Colorado, and over 10,000 of those were employed at Lockheed Martin, right? So that, just considering that alone, is very interesting. And then it was a Lockheed Martin factory that was built in the 1950s, right, by the Pentagon to build like intercontinental missiles and all of this, and that's where a lot of like the particle accelerators were housed and things of that nature, apparently. But yeah, it seems as if you look at, there's a strange connection to. And again, it's like, dude, as far as like realizing that there is not only a satanic ritual abuse component to this, but you have an occult connection to what's called the Brotherhood of the White Temple. And this is interesting to me because it seems like there was an underground network that had formed, and some of the adults who were members of this were working and running the Blackjack Pizza restaurant where Dylan and Eric both worked, right? And it's very interesting because it seems like, but you know, what's strange is that there was an association in the actual, if you look at the case files, to an individual by the name of Pedophile Bill, who came up by one of the associates of Dylan and Eric, which I found interesting because they were apparently hanging out at Pedophile Bill's house, where a child sex ring was apparently affiliated and associated with, and this is where child pornography was given by Pedophile Bill to one of the individuals. This is from the El Paso County Sheriff's Office, right, as far as the case itself being concerned. And
by the way, real quick side tangent. This is something we talked about earlier before the show even started. Blackjack. I looked it up just now as you're talking about it. I remember where I remember it from now. I think it may have been in Tennessee where I grew up, or like where I went to high school, but I know it's here in Florida area too. That's why I recognize it. It's literally those. I don't know if they have them where you're at in Florida. It's probably obviously a different brand, but it's very, very common for like convenience stores to also like have, you know, pizzas, like little pizza places in it. And a lot of times they'll have these little mini franchises, I guess you could say, like whatever the hell the brand is. And Blackjack is one of those super common ones in Tampa. So I know we were kind of talking because obviously pizza. So yeah, to me, I'll be honest, that makes me put a little bit less significance on it, knowing it's more of like this really, really broad chain. But you know, the more you know, at least we know. Just not to be the damper on fun conspiracies,
dude. No, and I mean it's not the idea that I don't even think that it necessarily matters that it's a chain, because specifically the individuals who are tasked with running this restaurant were very much, I think, compromised in at least a part of the operational standpoint of kind of like staging and planning. And they were blowing up pipe bombs outside of Blackjack Pizza all the time, and I think that's where they got most of the gunpowder, and they apparently helped shut down a fireworks stand, right, where they got a shitload of boxes of fireworks, and they went up in the mountains, and Dylan and Eric had successfully kind of like pulled the gunpowder and removed it from the fireworks, and then started creating pipe bombs, right? And Wayne Harris, I always thought this was interesting because parents of the dead children sued the parents of the perpetrators, right? And through that case, the attorneys and the parents of the dead children presented documentation that proved that there was prior knowledge as far as Wayne Harris was concerned, and that the police, the sheriff's department in the local area was even aware of this, and that an affidavit was supposed to have been filed. But because of Dave Thomas, who I think was fully compromised and helped facilitate the cover-up, and the reason why there was such a kind of lackadaisical, I believe, police response to the shooting itself, was in order to maximize casualties as well as, kind of control the scene of the operation itself, because that seems to be much more of what they were concerned with. And he himself had been the one to kind of intervene and keep the affidavit from being filed so the search warrant wouldn't be conducted at the Harris family home. It's so strange because it seems as if Wayne Harris found a pipe bomb in Eric's room, and instead of being very concerned and upset with Eric, he takes Eric up into the mountains and they together blow up the pipe bombs. And so again, it's like understanding his connection to psychological operations and in the naval intelligence and things of that nature. I think there's very much a likelihood that he was, I think, a part of the JonBenet Ramsey case at a certain level, because the flight simulation software that he was a part of creating, I guess, was used to train the 9/11 hijackers, allegedly. And that's very interesting as well, at least some of the 9/11 hijackers. And so anyway, I started to realize that same exact flight simulation company, right, software company, had apparently had these military contracts. And had military contracts where they were manufacturing remote controlled airliners, right? Jet airliners. I just thought, holy shit!
And wasn't also I forget it was Eric or if it was Dylan, but weren't they also fantasizing about flying their planes into the World Trade Center?
It's so strange.
It's weird. Yeah, that was
he allegedly wrote that, right? And I get, obviously it goes public in '99.
I think Wendy included that in Aberration. I'm pretty sure that's in the beginning, because it is a fun little factoid. By the way, Marna Mack in the chat, who's a regular on the morning show, apparently she's a resident of Littleton, Colorado. She said she was a freshman in Columbine in '99. The news media seriously made almost everything up, and no law enforcement entered the school for several hours. She's there, so it's true.
Hey,
but
I had a couple of different Columbine students reach out to me in the past recently, and I'm telling you, man, it just feels like at every level this was very much. Look, when I was reading Dylan's journal, I think he was in a dissociative state, man. Like, there's no way he's referring to himself as if he doesn't possess the humanity of Dylan that Dylan does, right? And essentially, he talks about something called the hypnosis place. It's so strange. And again, Eric, obviously, as you mentioned, he decides to fantasize about how they would escape if they could successfully get away from committing the massacre at the school. They would then steal a car, drive to a nearby neighborhood, start burning it down, throwing Molotov cocktails in houses, and then hopefully lead the police on a chase where they can successfully target and prioritize killing some of the police. But then make it to the airport, the Denver, Colorado airport, where they could then hijack a plane and fly it into New York City. And so it is definitely like, why is that sort of a part of the programming, is the way that I looked at it. And again, I watched all the surveillance camera footage, and it just so happens to be 3 hours and 33 minutes long, which I thought was very interesting. And the camera in the library apparently doesn't exist, right? And also the camera in the cafeteria would have picked up the Dylan and Eric allegedly coming in with the duffel bags with the ammunition, the pipe bombs, and the weapons, and the propane bombs that weren't already rigged around the building itself. They were in these 2 duffel bags allegedly, and they apparently brought them in to the cafeteria early and put them under their table. And this would have been picked up on the camera footage, but I think it was a janitor decided he was going to change the tapes, and it allegedly erased this portion of the tapes, right?
Every time.
Exactly. And then also watching it is very interesting. It's just strange, just watching it all. And then also considering the idea that clearly leading up to the shooting, they had already had prior run-ins with the authorities. And I thought it was interesting because Dylan had repeated run-ins with the local law enforcement, including a burglary in '98. And this is interesting because
whoa, sorry, Marna Mack, I didn't realize. Holy shit, She was there. I'm sorry. I mean, I didn't. Jesus Christ. She said, I was in the cafeteria when it went down. Something definitely happened to Eric. He was normal at the start of the year and then got real dissociated. Holy shit.
Hey, man.
Okay, all right, Martin Mac. Didn't know you knew that shit. All right, that's interesting. I didn't know you were like, I thought you were just like in the town or some shit. All right,
What
that's
everybody
wild.
says too, dude. Everybody says Dylan and Eric were like nice kids, and like most of the time, you know, like they seemingly got along with them if they ever had an interaction, you know, and it's just interesting as hell, and especially because Dylan was a part of the CHIPS program, which is very much like the Gifted program, right? But before we talk about that, I just wanted to mention the fact that he had already been obviously in trouble for that burglary with Eric, where they break into a van, right? And apparently Eric had said something like, if you're dumb enough to have like valuables just, you know, hanging out in plain sight in your vehicle, then you deserve to have them stolen, is basically what he apparently said. And then I think on his vehicle, I think it was like some sort of Acura Prelude or some shit. I can't remember, but it said natural selection, and I thought that was interesting because that played a huge part in his journal.
Have you? This might be a bit of a tangent, but it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. And I'm debating even doing like kind of maybe I don't really do solo episodes a lot, but maybe just doing like kind of a shorter solo episode in my style on this because I find it to be an interesting concept to kind of work with. For you're talking about this, and even Marmac saying, you know, something happened to Eric. Have you ever heard the story of the woman in the box? Have you heard that story? She was. I'm rereading Program to Kill recently. And that was like kind of a side thing in there, and I don't know why it just particularly fascinated. It's this case of this what's her name, like Colleen something, I forget, but whatever. She's the one who she essentially was hitchhiking in I think like the mid '80s essentially, and she got pulled, essentially by the guy ironically named Hooker. And his wife or girlfriend or whatever at the time, I think it might have been the girlfriend, Janice, I think was her name, and they abduct this. They take this lady as a hitchhiker because she's just trying to get from, I think, to her friend's house or whatever. And when they take her, they seem all good and stuff. And it's a family essentially. It's a Hooker, the husband or boyfriend or whatever, Janice, the lady, and a baby. So she's kind of trusting. I think she's like 20 years old. So hitchhiking, but a younger lady, but she's sees a family, so she's kind of like, oh, okay, feels a little more inviting. Well, essentially they get to like this, like for some reason they pull off like, oh, can we go through the scenic, or I forget exactly, but whatever, they go to a secluded area and kind of, hey, motherfucker, like gun out. The mother and the baby kind of walk off to kind of like, obviously knowing. And then he kind of takes her, and then he puts on this thing on her head, this like, I don't know, bird box type clasp, so you can't see, hear, nothing. And then, from that point, then takes her back to their place, kind of creates a little box for her under his waterbed, and just over the period of years and years and years, keeps her, constantly completely secluded in this thing. Also, lets her out periodically. He does introduce this thing, this contract, this slave contract to her that gets her to sign it. He claims it's part of, and I will say this would be something I'm a little bit interested in looking into. He does make claims of being, part of some larger network, but it does seem like it might be in the efforts to fool her or something, because the idea is like, oh, you're part of this, slave network, and I was either bought you or was authorized or whatever, and like I could sell you, but I'm just trying to keep you. Anyways, kind of there's this other company that if you try to get away from me, this or that. But the essentially, whether that's real or not, whether that's a fooling or there's actual legitimate reason to be paranoid, he essentially created mental blocks of some sort to where he got to the point to where she was able to go back to her family. She was able to like visit with them and then literally leave and never essentially. And she, meanwhile, the whole time she's was essentially raped, beaten, so you experienced physical abuse, but she just essentially gotten to the point to where she was just like so dissociated, so just she was, and even exhibiting stuff to where like Stockholm to the max, to where like they had in the course of the trial things like about how him loving her, like, and even at the time of getting away from him, trying to contact him and this and that, and even as when she supposedly broke away from him, she didn't even immediately go to the authorities and all. So it is a very odd, and but more the idea of like, if you do believe it, I mean, I guess you could. I don't know what you would if you want to think she's making up with it, but the point being is the level of like control one can get from that sort of. I mean, if you're controlling someone's entire reality, what you can do to them, and then now when you extrapolate from that, and she was 20 at the time too, so now you take into account younger, and then like and you're trying to do other things. I don't know. This particularly, I find it to be kind of a fascinating story and a good example of kind of like sort of what we're displaying here. And it's like the whole time she's clearly probably in her head. I mean, maybe she in some fucked up way has found out, seemingly loves it, but I don't know. I mean, this is probably created separate egos. But anyways, lines are open. We're at 1-833-722 dead or 3323 call in, but yeah, sorry, I was just thinking about that, and just everyone keep talking about, hey, what happened to this guy, how do we conceptualize how this could, and it's like, well, I don't know, one snatched away, one crazy fucked up things happening to you that can change your outlook on life.
I was reading through how psychiatrists at Plattsburgh were apparently programming Eric and he was very well aware of the experimentation that was being conducted, and they were utilizing pharmaceuticals, but not only that, they were utilizing these specific frequencies apparently, and then hypnosis and just how it typically we see it manifest, right? And just as far as the mind control techniques that they tend to utilize, and he had been traumatically sexually abused allegedly by some of these psychiatrists in the act, and so once again, it's like this is from starting at the age of 10. He was essentially subscripted, or forced into this experimentation program by, I believe, his military intelligence affiliated family members, who were also probably holding dual loyalty to some sort of fraternal organization, right? Which always tends to be the case when these domestic operations are greenlit like this. And if you consider the Columbine effect, you consider how just the aftermath, right? The psychological, consequences of all of this, right? The level of kind of like response protocols for mass shootings, the level of security at high schools, the no tolerance policy was implemented on the back of all of this, and many of the policies clearly have this kind of counteracting effect, right, as far as the implementation and the consequential nature of the dystopian policies that they utilize as far as problem reaction solution and paving the way, manufacturing the consent. But as far as as far as just like this mutual participation after Eric and Dylan broke into that van, they essentially were forced into this mutual participation, what was called a juvenile diversion program, and it was ran by the district attorney at the time, David Thomas, soon to be chief of police during the strategically botched Columbine Massacre, right? And that alone, with if you combine that with the idea that obviously Eric and Dylan, I believe that they were absolutely raped by one of the Jefferson County Sheriff's deputies, and his name was Tim Walsh. And this is according to John DeCamp. I just did, I made the same mistake you did the other day. But yeah, John DeCamp, obviously, some people have questioned, his sort of, it's just kind of, it comes with the territory. I feel like if you've ever been affiliated with any sort of role in government, then yeah, you should remain skeptical of that source as any kind of just being fully reliable in your mind's eye. I think you should definitely pause and just reflect before you hold that so true, and internally I think it's just very important. But at the same time, it's hard not to it's hard not to take it seriously when I found out who this guy was, Tim Walsh, the sheriff's deputy, because, well, what's interesting is I had mentioned that El Paso County Sheriff's case file, right, where they were talking about this guy by the name of Pedophile Bill. And this seems to fit with the child sex ring that was being facilitated in the area. And basically there was I think, man, think in the Atlanta child murders, think many of these various cases that we can point to where it seems as if they utilize operational assets. The older children typically play the role of procuring the younger children on behalf of the enterprise. That is how it always seems to kind of just manifest itself. And so you see that, and then you see this crazy a report from the Columbine report that was at least
by the way, Marnamak, call in.
I love that.
833-722-DEAD. We'd love to hear what you have to say. Love to hear your voice. I've seen you in the chat many a times. But by the way, we also do have some super chats to go through, particularly for you, Austin. Keep in mind, all that glorious money goes to you. So pay those people some mind. But go ahead.
No, man, you already know how grateful I am for anyone being willing to help me out along the way. That's for
by the way,
damn
this
sure.
is Liam Matthew Art. He does go follow him on Instagram. He does really great. I love his fucking his paintings on there. This is the end of 1984. Winston loves Big Brother, as you guys do. And I know I was being silly, but just so you guys know, this is you can if you do really like super chats, you can do that for Austin over on his YouTube channel. I got demonetized a whole long time ago. If you do really want to support me, I do have I have a QR code for my Patreon up here in the corner. Support Austin's as well. That's where you get the video calls. We're gonna go to video calls probably in about 15 minutes or so. We hang out with the patrons as well. We'll still take phone calls as well. It's just the patrons get a little bit more of a personalized hangout type thing. But also, what else we got here? We got who is this? This is Dino Compliziert. Have you noticed the 4 in D4VD? Maybe David? Is that I don't know. Strangely seems connected / part of Cross of Endlessness, the symbol used by shooters like Robert Crimo. Oh, I think I know he's talking about that weird like cross type thingy looking thing. The Third and Robert Westman, him part of their evil. No, I think I know what symbol you're talking about. I don't really know what you're trying to express particularly. I don't know if you do, Austin, or if you want to do anything with that.
No, not necessarily, but yeah, I just know that they did very much use, just as far as like it was the same exact symbol, and it's similar to that of like almost a processed church swastika in a way, but yeah, I forget the actual name of the symbol itself, but I think
it says Cross of Endlessness, I think is what it's called.
Okay.
I think it's,
that makes sense.
I have it saved somewhere. If I can find it, I'll bring it. Actually, I have it right here. I'll just go ahead and show it to the class real quick. This is actually with my guest who just came on this week. I think it was the one who was on Monday. I gotta get you to take. There we go. I gotta take that down before I can bring that up. Here we go. Here is the symbol he's talking about. This symbol right here. So yeah, there you go. That's the symbol he's referring to. The Cross of Endlessness, an upended square with 4 triangles connecting on 4 sides. Right. So yeah, that's what you're talking about. It's using apotropaic magic, according to King Knight. Interesting because Crimo wrote an EP called Brainwashed EP under his stage name Awake the Rapper. Crimo claimed to be an MK Ultra victim. Yeah, the lyrics to his songs in the Brainwash EP all revolve around him being a product of MK Ultra. Amen. MK Ultra, as we all know, were mind control experiments perpetrated by the U.S. government. Westman wrote, sponsored by BlackRock, one of his magazines, just like the Nigger Cell stuff. I don't think he said exactly that, but these are very similar motifs. To me, this is a very telling and important piece of the puzzle. Thomas Matthew Crooks, a supposed Trump assassin, has been heavily tied to BlackRock as well. 3 separate shooters. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they also like to drop those little Easter egg hints. So 3 separate shooters dropping hints that they're handmade by the government, and 2 using a very obscure occult sigil. But anyways, yeah, so that is the Cross of Endlessness and a little bit kind of on Robert Crimo. And this has been kind of, this symbol popped up, I believe, on the Nigger Cell shooter, right? I believe it was that one it showed up on. So yeah. Anyways, I'll take this down now. But yeah. And then last one, I think we got. Actually, never mind. We got one more. $2. Austin, you're better than rap music at 1.75 times. And then last from Abrogate D's, supporter of the show, sponsor of my show. Appreciate much love, brother. $5 to you, to Austin. Says I just plowed through 77 episodes of 200 Years Together with Pete and Dr. J, and I've never been more disgusted with everything the nosing continues. Man, that is a lot of parts for a series. But yeah, that's all the super chats. I think we're all caught up now. But you guys can call in. We'll be bringing patrons on here in a moment. 1-833-722-DEAD, which is 3323, for those who can't spell with numbers. But yeah, sorry, I know I did a lot of talking there.
No, you're good. Yeah. But yeah, where is the vanishing Robert Crimo, right? And that goes for at least I do think that Lance Twiggs, the transferee or whatever, that was the relationship, or at least the boyfriend of Tyler Robinson, allegedly, who disappeared from that townhouse that they shared, apparently, which all the neighbors are like, the mail just keeps stacking up. It looks as if he went into hiding. And then I was reading about how potentially it was on the suggestion of law enforcement that as he is apparently cooperating with them, to leave the area altogether, the state itself. So it seems like he was potentially put in witness protection to some extent. Not sure, but yeah, who knows? Very, very strange at the least, right? Especially since they're kind of relying on him for every single last shred of evidence that they've presented, so far as the FBI is concerned.
Ooh, right. By the way, the D4VD, sorry, my bad. This is actually, ironically, this is a piece I've been meaning to kind of string together for a segment, but now that your chatter is mentioning it, I guess they're saying the 4 in D4VD. I don't know if, but this is what he's referring to when he's referring to, sorry, I'm going to bring my screen back up to show you what he's referring to. I totally forgot about this story when he was saying this, that one super chatter a moment ago. This is what he's referring to. D4VD, who is this rapper, who he dated this missing teen, Celeste Hernandez, and then was found in his trunk, and she was a fucking child. Yeah. What was she like? So yeah, they were dating since he was like 12, and this was like a huge rapper. And like somehow he was like out on tour during all of this, and like I mean, I never really followed up with all of it, but I haven't seen. I guess I haven't seen David spelled anywhere other than in normal text, like his symbol. So I don't know if maybe that. I guess he's trying to make a connection that this guy has some sort of at least symbolic connection between the two. But that is a crazy story. Maybe I'll have to maybe cover that again, because there's a lot more to it than just that, but it does seem like somehow he was able to just be out there in the world doing this wild shit. And just like, I don't know if you heard about the Lost Prophets thing recently, that guy who died. Mm-hmm. I never knew about that guy. Apparently my wife knew about him because he's kind of like in that the music scene that me and her were kind of into. But he's a guy who was doing crazy shit like raping babies on camera and stuff, and fucking, and he ended up getting like 27 years in Britain or over in England, and just recently, I guess, he got murdered in prison, which, woohoo, that's fucking dope, because, because he was going to get 27 years, and at some point going to get out, but yeah, he was like a really famous musician as well, similar thing. Apparently, he was someone who was like, it took like, basically a work, essentially a force of, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for, force of nature, essentially, to get him caught. Like, he had people handing him the police evidence over and over again, just being like, So this does seem to be a prevalent, common thing with these people. But I don't know. Let me see. I want to look up D4VD, see if I can see their what his symbol looks like. See if I can find images of it. What's up?
We have a caller. Yes, we do.
All right, cool. Go ahead, caller.
Let's see. Hold on. Give me just a sec. Okay. All right, we are live. Can you hear us, caller?
I can.
Nice.
Is this Marnamac?
Yes.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I just guessed. It's a woman. There aren't a lot of you guys in this audience. Pleasure to hear your voice. Yeah, I guess we can kind of just go ahead and we all know what you're here to call for. If you just want to go ahead and tell us your story, or if you have any thoughts, I'd be interested to hear your tale of that day, or just that year, what you knew about him, whatever. The floor is yours.
Well, what I was going to tell you guys is that, so at the beginning of the year, I was only 14, so my mom had to take me to school, and she worked at the elementary school down the street, so she would drop me off like 30, 40 minutes early, and Eric and Dylan were part of the audio-visual class, and they did production for our little news network. It was just like this little thing that played every morning, and it was the daily school news, and they did I guess videos for that. And so I'd be in the cafeteria, and they came down and they were like, oh, hey, can we interview you? I don't even remember what it was for. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. And they were like totally normal kids. And when I would see, not so much Dylan, but when I would see Eric in the hallways, I'd be like, oh, hey, what's up? You know, and he'd wave back or whatever. And then sometime throughout the year, I mean, I'm not even kidding, he got like almost zombified. Like he wouldn't even look at me. He wouldn't like talk to anyone. It was pretty obvious that something like fucked up happened.
Right.
And so anyways, that day, we were in like, it was my lunch hour, and we were all in the cafeteria, and supposedly they had snuck duffel bags in that were pipe bombs or whatever, homemade bombs, I guess is what they were. And they had them, I guess, placed like all around the cafeteria. Well, I guess they ended up not detonating, and that's why they ended up like coming to school with a gun, because their bombs were duds.
Yeah.
And but yeah, we were all in the cafeteria, and Dave Sanders, the teacher that died, he like we're all just in there, you know, having a nice lunch, and he all of a sudden was like, get down. And we're like, what the fuck? And everyone was kind of like laughing about it, because we're like, oh, it's the senior prank, you know, whatever. And like a minute later, he was like, they got a gun, get the fuck, or not get the fuck out, but he was like, get out. And it was literally like someone flipped on a switch, like it was all calm and everyone kind of giggling and stuff. And then just chaos completely erupted, and everyone starts running out, while my friend that I was with, she was like petrified, scared. And so she was like, Marnie, I don't know what to do. I can't move. And I literally said to her, I go, Natalie, we're not going to die today. And I grabbed her. And so we were kind of like one of the last groups out of the cafeteria, but there was only one way into the cafeteria, which led outside. And then there was a staircase that you could go up. And so we ran up the staircase. Yeah. And as we're like, we're all kind of just shuffling, because it was like the entire cafeteria going down this hallway, and we're shuffling along, and you could hear behind you gunshots and like stuff shattering. And I think that's when Dave Sanders got shot. And yeah, I know. I mean, I'm sure you probably know more about it than I do, but yeah, the cops didn't go in for like several hours for no reason. I don't know why they didn't. And then I don't know if you know the kid. There was a picture in the newspaper of him, Daniel Robo, and he was shot outside of the cafeteria. I think that's what Mr. Sanders saw was them shoot him, because he was walking out to like the parking lot.
Yeah.
And they shot him. Yeah, and so I think that's what Mr. Sanders saw that made him go, get out, run, or whatever. They have a gun. And so, yeah, it was, I mean, obviously, I mean, I remember down to the underwear what I was wearing that day. Like, I remember everything about that day.
Huh. It's so fascinating to me.
Well,
like, oh, just like it was like 17 days or something before graduation, and I was just reading about how Eric and Dylan had both legitimately had some sort of plans for a future, right? There wasn't any sort of real sense that, you know, as far as like they were seemingly making plans going forward and even having conversations with friends, right, about those plans. And so specifically, I always thought it was fascinating that, you know, the psychological standpoint of what made them actually go forward with the, you know, the kind of the shooting itself. But then I saw there were a few different witnesses who were students who were claiming that somebody by the name of Robert Perry was another shooter, and that he was also a member of the Trenchcoat Mafia, and that apparently this dude had and there was also another friend that later on even called in October of the same year. He apparently had claimed that he was going to finish the job, and they found like legitimate diagrams of the school, and I found that to be interesting as well. I can't recall his name at the moment, but as far as the Robert Perry is concerned, I think it's strange because Kristen Kruger is one of the individual students who made this allegation, as well as I think another boy, and then essentially what was said was there was quite possibly one other person shooting, and this was according to the Jefferson County Sheriff John P. Stone, who was actually raising that question, which I found interesting because he was actually an authority figure, but he wasn't necessarily like a part of leading the investigation into Columbine whatsoever, like Dave Thomas was, obviously. So I don't think he was necessarily involved in the cover-up or even facilitating it, but he claims that there was quite possibly one other person shooting, and that we do have witness statements. The statements came from students who were witnesses at the scene when this was going down, and they agreed on the third person's identity. Stone said that investigators were questioning him on this specifically as well. And but Kristen Kruger claims that she says, and she wrote a book called Healing the Invisible Wounds of Trauma, a Columbine Survivor's Story. And it says, she says, when it was all over, I realized that the person who I saw point a gun at us was not one of the two identified shooters. He wasn't even a student at Columbine anymore. He dropped out. He isn't even supposed to be here, yet here he was trying to kill us all. And I just thought, holy shit. Like, legitimately, there's, you know, let's just say a plausible avenue of some sort of evidence. You know, I don't know how much we can rely on it, but it's hard not to acknowledge it, obviously, and consider the idea that there were other individuals who definitely could have been a part of the planning at the very least, you know, and but who knows? I don't know. What's your take on that? Because
so there were, like, I had not really friends, but, you know, people obviously that I like knew of, that when it came out that Eric and Dylan were the shooters, a couple of people had said, they were like, no, there was another person. There was another person there. And I want to say that because, you know, it all went down was in the library where they like shot all the kids.
Yeah.
And I swear I could be wrong about this, but Patrick Ireland who was the kid that was crawling out of the window. He had been shot, but he survived. And he was like crawling out of the second story library window. And the cops I don't know if you guys ever saw that video, but the cops had to like go up and get him down.
Mm-hmm.
And I swear he had said that there was a third shooter as well.
My God.
And the thing is so weird. Like when I went to my mom's school, the one that she worked at the elementary school after it all happened. Like some random lady on the street was like, "What's going on?" Because we were all like outside crying and all this shit. And we were like, we don't know. So she drove me to my mom's school. Well, my sister came and picked me up, and we went back to see like what was going on. So this was maybe like, I don't know, an hour and a half later. And some news lady was like, "Hey, did you go to this school?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Oh, can I interview you?" So she does her little interview, and literally, like I said, this was before even any of the shooters were named or anything. Right. She was like, "Oh, we hear that the shooters are part of the trenchcoat mafia," and I was like, "What?" I was like, "I don't even know what that is." And she was like, "Oh, okay." And then she ended the interview. But I always thought that was so weird because it's like, how did the media even know?
Oh my God!
When like the shooters hadn't even been identified.
And that wasn't I know you said you were a freshman, but the trenchcoat mafia wasn't a distinctive thing to you either? Because I'm curious, because I mean, it sounds like you're a little bit more knowledgeable than I thought, but you were a freshman. I mean, it's always hard to tell. I mean, how big, I guess how big was the school? I'm curious as well. Give me a vibe of like what kind of how large of a school was it? Are we talking thousands of kids in the school type thing? Is that, or what?
Yeah, there were thousands. I think I think 2,000.
Okay.
In the school, like it was a big school. Like when I went there, it was a big school. I think there was like 500 people in my graduating class.
Okay, so I was trying to get a feel if you would even be. So would it be that unbelievable? Because I mean, the way that they frame the trenchcoat mafias was like a clique. It was kind of like the goth clique, I guess you could say, almost, of a certain group of kids. But it sounds like you didn't even really know what it was, although you're saying it's around 2,000 kids, so maybe that's not that unbelievable. But you remembered him by face and distinctive, things about him, although maybe that's just memorable. I don't know. Any thoughts about the trenchcoat mafia, if that is believable to you, that could have been a clique you weren't aware of? Maybe you talked to other people about that clique. What was your feeling about them so far as this group of kids in the social milieu of the school?
Well, so like you were saying, I was a freshman. So my friends, because I had told, obviously my group of friends, I was like, yeah, they asked me if I knew about the trenchcoat mafia. I was like, have you guys ever even heard of that? And they were like, no. And they said the same thing as me. They were like, I mean, there's like goth kids. And Eric did wear all black. Like he would wear like all black outfits. But I don't ever remember him wearing like a trench coat all the time or anything. Like he was, and I wouldn't even consider him really like a goth kid, I guess, because I know a goth kid to me back then was like you were emo, you like wore eyeliner and had your black slicked hair or whatever. That was like a true goth person. He was just like an all black wearing, like I said, like normal. He was a normal guy. I didn't know Dylan as well. I knew of Dylan, but Eric, I swear, was like a normal kid. I'm pretty sure he like smoked weed and freaking, like was a normal teenager, And I had never heard of the Trenchcoat Mafia, and none of my group of friends, which it was like all my girlfriends basically, but none of us had even heard of that.
Right. What about the harder drug stuff? You mentioned he smoked weed. Wasn't there rumors that they got a little bit involved in meth? I mean, or am I misremember? Am I mixing up some parapolitical stuff here, Austin?
I don't remember.
I think that too. They got into meth. Eric was a rich kid. Like I don't know if you ever seen pictures of his house. Like,
Oh,
he
wait.
lived in a nice ass house.
Yeah, his house is super nice,
Yeah,
but yeah, there was methamphetamine involved, actually. I'm remembering that now.
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, and like he lived in a nice ass house. And from what I remember people talking about is that he had this like little shed type house or like guest house. And that's where him and Dylan were like getting high on meth. I heard that too, that they were getting high on meth. And that's where they were making all their little bombs. And I remember everyone was like so pissed at his parents because they're like, why didn't you go in there? You know, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, they probably just thought exactly what was going on. They're just in there getting high and, you know, didn't really give a shit, I guess. But yeah.
By the way, I did real quick. I want to say I see. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. I see the chat calling you a Fed over and over again. I want to say, so far as people in the chat, Marnamac's been in my in the morning dump, showing up in the morning dump as a regular chatter for a long ass time. This is the first I've heard she's a Columbine student. So if she's a Fed, she was playing a retardedly long game for no fucking reason whatsoever. So just letting you guys know that I'm open to people being Feds. I don't fucking know, but it seems a little outside the realm of possibilities here. Sorry, back to you, Marnamac.
No, that's all right. No. No, that would be a lot of retarded listening for this. But no, I was a 14-year-old kid. I went to Columbine, and yeah, I mean, I still live in Littleton, and you know, I'm an old lady now. I'm 41 now, but yeah, I definitely. Have nothing to do. I mean, I really was baffled at everything that had happened after that because it's so weird now to see other school shootings happen, and you're like, oh my god, this thing. Like, I don't know if you guys knew this, but Uvalde or whatever that one was in Texas. Yeah. And then also Columbine, the NRA or the gun thing that they have every year, that was in Denver the year of the Columbine shooting. Right. And then same thing with Uvalde.
Yeah.
It was there.
Yeah, that's.
And so I don't know. I mean, that has any connection, but it's like the media like do way too much. Way too soon. It was like, how is this even possible that you guys like they haven't even identified the actual shooters?
Right.
And what I thought was weird too is that they didn't enter the school. Like it was reported right away. Gunshots at Columbine High School, and like all the schools around us had to go on lockdown. And so like it was reported right away. Yeah, there's gunshots like at this school, and no one went in there for. I know it was over like 4 hours. Yeah. That no law enforcement or nothing went in there. Dave Sanders bled out in that time because he got shot. He crawled up to one of the rooms upstairs from the cafeteria, and he ended up bleeding out. The guy that held a picture of his family in front of his face because he's like, I want to say goodbye to my family. Mm-hmm. That kid that held it for him ended up committing suicide like 2 years later.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know. It's like, geez, so much shit. I don't understand if it's like kids, why don't you, like it's your job. I know that sucks, but it's your job.
Yeah.
To go in and like, assess the situation.
Mm-hmm. There were very much like, I think there were many different suspicious deaths that occurred. There was even a murder at, it was at, I believe, at a restaurant that one of the that one of the students apparently worked at that had been killed. Wasn't that the case?
Yeah. Yep. It was Stephanie. I think her name was Stephanie Hart, and then Nick something. And that was a really weird one too, because they never found out like what actually happened there.
Exactly.
They were saying, oh, there was a drug deal gone wrong or something like that. But yeah, that one was really weird too.
Mm-hmm. I know. And to me, it's strange as well. You mentioned the police response, and there was a professor from the University of Denver, and his name was Carl Raschke, I think was his name. And he apparently he specialized in teenage cults. All right, which is very strange, but he claimed that federal agents had been on high alert for some kind of attack on Monday, April 19th, but had failed to act on the internet warnings apparently about the following day, and I just found that to be interesting as well, because it seems as if there were the Bob Inyart chat room was like popping off, man, like prior to this. And it's very strange when you read through the chat logs of what the conversations that were being had. There was so much prior knowledge of this allegedly taking place. And that instantly screams operation to me, obviously. And then you consider the idea, you brought up methamphetamines. Now, it makes sense to me that one of their potential suppliers for methamphetamines could have been the individual they worked with, the adult married male that worked at Blackjack Pizza with them. And it's very strange because it seems like this is a connection to I think it's Sedalia, Colorado. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it seems like it's okay. So it seems like there's a link to, I had mentioned the Brotherhood of the White Temple, that it's apparently an occult organization, and they seem to kind of be more like affiliated with white supremacist ideas and more in the Aryan line of thinking. And and it looks as if they were a part of a wider network called the White Eagle Underground. And it apparently an individual by the name of Nathan Johnson worked at Blackjack Pizza as a delivery driver, and he was a married adult male who knew and was apparently friends with Dylan and Eric, right? And this guy, Nathan Johnson, this instantly reminded me of the Pulse nightclub network with Omar Mateen, because guess what happens with this dude? The same thing that happened to the kid that was hanging out with Omar and Micah Xavier Johnson from the Dallas shooting, and then James Wesley Howell from the LGBTQ parade attack that took place the very same day as Pulse nightclub, and then that other kid that was allegedly from the UK, and he was on the spectrum, and he went to Vegas, and I think it was like I forget which hotel it was, but they held a campaign event for Donald Trump, right? And he tried to go and meet Donald Trump and grab the pistol off of one of the security guards there. And he told them as they apprehended him that he did that in an effort to assassinate Donald Trump, right? And he was apparently trained at the very same black site as James Wesley Howell and Omar Mateen. But then this is what I think of instantly when I find this out. This Nathan Johnson guy who works at Blackjack Pizza was cooking methamphetamine apparently as a part of the enterprise itself, connected to this White Eagle Underground, and connects back to pedophile Bill, who was running a child sex ring out of a private home in the area. And he was giving child pornography to some of the students. One of them had it in his backpack, and he got caught. And he went on the record with the authorities, explaining to them where he was given this child pornography. And but anyway, that's another story, because what I'm really getting at is the fact that this Nathan Johnson individual, he then resurfaces as being involved in a Denver assassination plot on Barack Obama, right, at the Democratic National Convention. And so this is exposed, and apparently this is very interesting as well, because if you look into this specific plot, I pulled it up. Let me find it again because it's so strange. Here it is. There's 3 individuals, and you look at them. They all 3 look like they're on meth, right? Theron Gartrell, Nathan Johnson, and Sean Adolph, right? His last name. Very fitting for the white supremacist organization.
And for meth.
And for meth. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so this is nuts because this is in 2008, and Sean Robert Adolph. And then you had Theron Robert Gartrell and Nathan Dwayne Johnson plotting to assassinate Barack Obama at the Democratic Party presidential national convention in Colorado. And so this is interesting as well because what they discovered I thought was strange, right? Because it seems as if in their hotel room, let me find it again. Yeah, here we go. They had explosives. They had bulletproof vests. They had basically they had pulled over a 2008 Dodge Ram truck, which was erratically swerving allegedly, and police find this Ruger model Mark II bolt action rifle with attached scopes and a bipod, and Remington model 721 270 bolt action rifle with attached hunting scope, and one of them fitted with a silencer. And then the police also find 2 wigs, 3 fake IDs, camouflaged clothing, bulletproof vests, 2 walkie-talkies, and 4.5 grams of what appeared to be methamphetamine in the truck. So it just like, this is the guy who's hanging out with Dylan and Eric as a delivery driver at Blackjack Pizza just before they commit the Columbine Massacre, allegedly. So again, it's like, how does that not instantly remind you of the Omar Mateen network and kind of how that operation was greenlit domestically? I mean, this is fascinating, dude. I'm getting freaked out a little bit, honestly, like at a certain point when it comes to modern Gladio and the level of just I believe there's so many more of these kind of sleeper cells that have been arranged and positioned all throughout the domestic U.S. and can be kind of relied upon and greenlit and flexed upon the general public at any certain given moment. And what comes off of the back of these terrible, mass casualty events or high impact events of any kind is this terrible dystopian totalitarian tiptoe, which seems to be broad leaps during moments like that. And that's what we got directly after Columbine. Gun control, high security in public schools, every single layer of it was just the wet dream of the permanent establishment. And that should give everyone pause.
All right, Marnamac, we've had you on for a while. I really feel like we could sit here and keep talking to you, but I mean, is there anything else that you feel like we forgot? Because I mean, I feel like we're definitely missing some stuff we could mine here. But I guess if you have any final thoughts, otherwise, I guess we can let you go and we can get moving on to the. I gotta go to the bathroom and hit the intermission, and we can get some patrons in here. But man, this is a super interesting call. Anything else you feel like we should know? I don't know. I mean, otherwise, I don't want to say goodbyes.
Austin obviously is a well of knowledge, and I mean he knows so much about it. But everything he's saying is like it makes so much sense. Like when you put it all together, because it was like like I said, I wasn't like friends with them. I knew of them, whatever. But I just watching like what happened to them, and now knowing about like MK Ultra shit and all that stuff, I just really feel like you're saying, they were like sleeper cell, whatever things that they, what do you call it? Snapped their fingers and everyone went off. But yeah, the Columbine shootings like really taught me that, dude, everything is seriously like not what it seems. And yeah, it's just it was a crazy thing to go through at 14. But no, I'm happy I got to talk to you guys.
Yeah,
I have my I have my Fed stuff to get to. So
All right. Well, if you ever think of more stuff you feel like was worthwhile talking about Columbine wise or anything at all, please call back in again some other time. We'll let you go. Otherwise, Jacob, please roll that beautiful bean footage. Let's get that intermission going. We'll have patrons in here in a moment to hang out with us, take some calls. So that phone line will still be open, so you can call in over at 1-833-722-DEAD. That's 3323 if you're incapable of spelling with numbers. So call in, and if you're a patron, you can hang out with us and field calls with us. But Jacob, go ahead and roll that intermission. I'm gonna see you all in a few minutes.
Is for faggots, and don't be that. Don't be black-pilled. Don't let evil stand in the way of you connecting with joy and gratitude and God. And I think that it's probably a good idea to pray pray specifically that God keeps you on the right path.
Let me inside the place. Move over for a damage case. Hey babe, wait a minute, stop. Don't run away, don't call a cop. I am looking to victimize you. All I wanna do is tantalize you. And I can tell by the state I'm all over the place. I can tell by your face. Got no time for a damage case.
Just to witness, I mean, the Charlie Kirk psyop continues, right? There's just so much information and misinformation out there. And I think that is also very strategic in terms of the culture war, as I was mentioning before I left. But, you know, the influencer wars, right, are once again upon us. And
yeah,
and
we're a dynamic duo here, baby. We're about to fucking be at the top, like that fucking meme. What is it, the Doom meme, where he's like holding the demons? It's like all the demons around him. That will be me and you at the top of the heap.
It feels like it, because I mean, once upon a time, I took some of these influencers seriously, and I even watched some of their shows at a certain point years ago, and now I just feel like if you kind of take most of these individuals seriously at this point, I feel like the joke is basically on you now.
Yeah. We're back, baby. Gonna do probably about maybe another 30 minutes or so. Maybe take one or two patrons to hang out, shoot the breeze, maybe take a call if any come in. But yeah, man, that was quite the call, Austin. What do you think? That was
I absolutely loved every second of that, and I hope she calls back in the future. And definitely reach out to me as well if you can remember anything that you think is critical to the narrative, that because I'm very excited to finally get this new solo project finally finished. It's like it's a long time coming, it feels like, and in the moment I feel like excited because I feel like I'm getting back to my roots at a certain point, a level, I would say, and that alone, I just very much enjoy plugging into a specific case, and occasionally, because of how my mind functions, I'm all over the place sometimes, and it that alone becomes overwhelming. You know what I mean? And I feel like I have to take time to just give my mind something specific, that I need to kind of like crack down and discover the layers. And man, I always, every single time I go into it, I think I question, it's like I have that doubt in my mind, right? That self-doubt that creeps in, and I always wonder, will I find those additional layers in this specific case, and it seems like every single time they just reveal themselves, and it's just it's sort of all it really takes is the level of commitment and discipline to put yourself in the right position to kind of discover it. But you have to become so like you have to almost create a let's say just a what's the word, when the dynamic of just seemingly God damn, I'm trying to, I forget the term itself, but it's just basically trying to describe a very a relationship. Fucking A, I can't believe
I'm
that
trying to save you, but I'm like, what word is he going for?
I know. It's just when you're very close with someone, right? And it's a specific word that is completely escaping me, and it's legitimately just,
like when you're being unobjective. Is that what you're trying to drive?
Intimate. Thank you.
There
Oh my God, I couldn't believe. Anyway, so yeah, you have to become like very overly intimate with these cases, and I feel like I have to be overexposed to some of the individual personalities involved as well, and I think that's very important. But anyway, yeah, just that was a great experience, and I hope we experience more calls like that, right, where we kind of get a direct line into the event itself, and there's always value to that, and it can at least provide perspective, and she seemed great, so definitely enjoyed that.
Martin Max is shit. Like I said, she's been in the chat for forever. Never knew, never had a inkling, and here you are. What a small world we are in. Yeah, patrons, I see a bunch of you guys in the chat. You guys are welcome to come in. I see you in the chat, John Black. You're welcome to come in. But call in 1-833-722-DEAD. Man, I feel like, where do we go from there after such a fire caller? That wow, I was not expecting to catch that one. Oh, sorry, I got some in my throat.
Dude, did you know that there was a pre-enactment of Columbine by the son of the lead FBI investigator in the Columbine case? This is the crazy, right? This FBI agent is investigating Columbine, right? And his son helped produce a video parody in which the school is completely destroyed, and the film is said to be an actual comedy and not a depiction of gratuitous violence. But Dwayne Fuselier, who's also said he claims the participation of his son Scott in the video, which was apparently made 2 years prior to the April 20th event, does not compromise his ability to investigate the case. But he was the lead FBI investigator at the time, and I just thought it was so strange, right? Like once more we see the revelation of the method, but this
some
is
sort
far
of exercise
more
or something. Yeah. Hey, what's the deal? What was the deal with the surveillance video for that. I mean, I know that one was the 90s, so it might not have been really. I mean, that might not be as. I mean, the technology may not have been great, but was there weirdness with the surveillance tapes? Were there
I
supposedly,
mean, it was crazy. I
ones?
took screenshots, and I was just like trying to. I watched all of it in an effort to hopefully, discover some strange anomalies of some kind. But in reality, it was just like witnessing Eric and Dylan just kind of casually come down the stairs and then take their positions and see Dylan walking with his Tech 9 and down the stairs toward where he was attempting to fire at the propane bombs that didn't go off. And he was failing to do that. And it was interesting. But he did inevitably get one of them to go off, and it lit a massive fire in the cafeteria and like spread really wide and then just kind of fizzled out. Because apparently I was reading a breakdown of what was also allegedly occurring by the timeline during the videos or during the surveillance cams, and basically they said the sprinklers were on, and so the sprinklers had effectively put out that fire, and so the propane bomb didn't really spread very well as they had hoped. And but again, so it's like Eric's firing from the stairwell as he took position on the railing, like right when they come down, and that's Dylan's like walking to the left of him. And then it was funny, I thought the one thing that I did think was interesting, they just go to one of the tables and Eric picks up a cup. It looks like a white styrofoam coffee cup sort of thing, right? And he just takes a few drinks and like kind of points it at Dylan, like almost as if he's offering him a drink. And then Dylan just like has one of the crickets or it could have been one of the pipe bombs. I don't know. I think it was a cricket though. I'm not sure. And he throws it, like you can see him throwing it, and I don't know if they had smoke, but there's a shitload of smoke. So I feel like there had to have been smoke bombs. I don't think that was all because of, I don't think it was all just due to the, the few pipe bombs or propane bombs that actually did go off, but it could have been. But at one point, it comes all the way. The smoke streams into the cafeteria, and it almost like blocks out the entire visual for a short time. But yeah, it was very strange. Just the entire thing was, and to see obviously the pandemonium when the shooting first begins, and a couple of the male teachers or individual staff members were running through the cafeteria, and all the. I think listening to the 911 calls, I forget the name of the teacher who was in the library with the kids, and she had gotten shot in the shoulder, I believe, and she didn't know if she had been shot or not, but she said something's in my shoulder, and it's just a strange 911 call, but she's yelling at all the kids to remain under the table, stay under the table. It was before they had breached the library, I think, and that's where the vast majority of the kills happened. I think it was 10 people were killed in the library, including the teacher, I think, if I can remember. But either way, they were being they had their weapons supplier who inevitably had to serve time as well, actually, and he seemed to have strange connections too, but I'm telling you, man, they were cooking meth. As far as members were definitely supplying meth, individuals who were working at the Blackjack Pizza restaurant. So that could have very well have been where they were getting their supply of methamphetamine if they were actually. I
mean, we got meth, we got pizza, and we got pedophilia. We got we got guns. We got a whole combination of shit going on here. Now, to be fair, I did mention before, it's like, I mean, blackjack is just some generic shit that's in like convenience stores, but I don't know. I can't help but not incorporate that into.
Oh yeah.
I mean, what was it? The as we've mentioned multiple times, the pizza connection, which ironically, I guess that was how whatever PatCon is, I guess it's like a numbered. I forget what it's called, like to actually get that designation, like PatCon. Apparently, the I believe what was it called? The Pizza Connection is what it's literally called. That got one of its own as well. And there's only so many of those. I covered this in the show of those. I forget exactly what they're called, like major commands or major. There's some term for it essentially. There's only so many, and that was one of them. But yeah, they were running heroin out of these pizza places all through, I forget where. I want to say it was like the Midwest or something, but I remember we talked about on the show that that weird Iranian consulate that fucking Epstein was live out of, that he had some weird subletting, you know, subletting who was subletting scam. Like, some of the people in there were involved in the fucking whole pizza connection, which is like, there is heroin trafficking out of a pizza place. And it's hard not to then obviously just kind of smatter in the Epstein vibe in there. And you're like, okay, we kind of have all the symbolic components we need here for some weird stuff. So, yeah.
On that note, remember the Goat Hill Pizza reference from last week?
That'd be a good thing to end it with, the Goat Hill Pizza thing, yeah.
Exactly. I think it's perfect, honestly. But I will say, just a final point on the pedophilia connection there to Columbine. I think that sheriff's deputy Tim Walsh, who basically was making the claim that you know, as far as alleged rape of Harrison and Dylan Klebold by Jefferson County Sheriff Deputy Tim Walsh was promoted by John DeCamp, as I mentioned before, right? And so basically what he was claiming is that essentially the individual who was a part of this pedophile enterprise that was being conducted, this child sex ring in the area, this even connects to what they claim connects back to Robert Lanza. Adam Lanza's father apparently is connected to this child sex ring as well, which I thought was very interesting, and it makes a lot of sense considering what happened to Adam Lanza and him potentially being legitimately sexually abused, and also it seems as if the individuals who were responsible, right, were apparently members of, and this includes County Sheriff Pat Sullivan, and then this county sheriff's deputy Tim Walsh. They were members of and apparently there was another patrolman named Sullivan as well. I forget his first name, but he was also a part of the Littleton JCs. All right. And this is so crazy to me because obviously this is the organization that John Wayne Gacy and Ed Kemper were both affiliated with. And it clearly seems as if it's called the United States Junior Chamber. And it's obviously this strange kind of youth. It's clearly for young children who are allegedly showing potential and as far as politics are concerned for the future and playing some sort of role in the establishment. And this organization is to help guide them and craft and train them in terms of fulfilling that role. And so once again, we have the individuals who allegedly were responsible for raping Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold and affiliated with a child sex ring in the area and keeping it covered up during the Columbine investigation. They were not only members of the JCs, but the legitimate leader of the Littleton JC's organization. And so that, I think it's worthwhile in noting and just obviously considering the idea that we have so many different past examples of individuals affiliated with this organization specifically being kind of controlled assets of these strange domestic covert operations. But yeah, as far as the Goat Hill Pizza, this is so crazy, man, because I got to show you this picture first of all.
Which before we get into it, we talked about this last week on Already Dead. One of the callers called in and told us about this. Now, I believe they corrected us later in the chat. We said, what's going on with, like, hey, what's the conspiracy here, this, that. Well, the conspiracy, I guess, is in the artist, particularly. Mm-hmm. So I guess we didn't get that particularly correct. But, all right, set the stage for you, Austin. Go ahead.
Thank you. And oh, shit, hold on. I just, I had mentioned there was one other thing that I wanted to mention about pedophile bill, because it is absolutely insane, and it perfectly kind of embodies what we see so very often, right? And in terms of this trenchcoat mafia members, at least if this group really did exist, which it seems to have, there were individuals who were a part of it that where oh yeah, I know, right, at blackjack. Yeah.
For the listeners, Nicholas Lee commented, local businesses had filed complaints with the owner of the strip mall that Blackjack Pizza was at. They constantly found bullet casings, fireworks, porn, and litter left by Blackjack workers. Nope. Now, I do want to say I find that interesting. He's saying it's a strip mall that Blackjack Pizza was at. Now, I do want to say that looks a little bit different in my mind's eye now, and I think it's important for people who are characterizing it. I haven't seen this Blackjack Pizza. When I imagine Blackjack Pizza, I imagine what I've seen, where I see them at convenience stores, and they're typically like inside the convenience store, like almost like you can say like a tiny kiosk, maybe would be the best way to try to frame what it is in there. It's like almost a subsidiary of the convenience store. It's like, if anything, it's like they're not even really like they're Blackjack employees. A lot of times it's like you got somebody who works at the convenience store that knows how to put a fucking frozen pizza into a oven. Like that's like all they're doing, you know? But I guess this sounds like it's more of the, I think some of these things do have where they have their own locations. So I think that makes it a little bit more something is what it sounds like to me. If it's saying a strip mall and if they're having bullet casings, fireworks, porn, litter, because then you would say that's more the convenience store leaving that shit around than it is the people there. So
this is the specific one in Littleton that they worked at.
Much different than what I imagined in my head. Much different. Right. Okay, now we're talking CD pizza joint. So, yeah.
And also there's this outside picture as well.
All right. Yeah, a lot different. A lot different.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I thought at least, you know, it was important to get a some sort of visual component involved with the place itself. I thought, you know, but yeah, you consider that sort of being the operational hub of a lot of the planning, I think, is actually what potentially did happen, and especially considering that if you know they're making complaints about pornography, that instantly raises my eyebrows and red flags in my mind, because again it sort of reinforces this notion of pedophile Bill being affiliated with the individuals working at the Blackjack Pizza joint, and basically there was a student from the Mesa Ridge High School, and he gets in trouble for having child pornography that's found in his backpack, right? And he talks about knowing members of the Trenchcoat Mafia, and he claims that he saw Dylan Klebold and Eric Harris at a party the weekend before the shooting. He says he and a friend named Amber Rubio was also an associate of the Trenchcoat Mafia members, visited the home of pedophile Bill, who gave him the child pornography. And this is mentioned in multiple different cases as well, right? And it seems to perfectly just kind of represent a lot of I just thought instantly of Atlanta child murders, because that's the exact same kind of strategic outline of the network and how they were functioning in the local area. And every single time you have individuals in the local area consistently complaining about, hey, this is strange, right? That very much seems as if there's criminal activity and in these places, and being sort of not investigated in any real way. And so, yeah, I do think there's legitimately a connection to pizza joints being utilized there as far as like the business model for helping procure other children for the network itself, which is very strange, especially considering this Goat Hill Pizza that we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And how there were these leaks, right? Basically that Nancy Pelosi was utilizing this Goat Hill Pizza as a front company used to funnel money into Democratic donors.
Sorry, Austin, I don't mean to put a pin in that real quick. Hustle said something that made me think about if we are trying to be spooky and occult and symbolic. He's saying a blackjack is a colloquial term for a compact bludgeoning device. Maybe it's symbolic, like they're bludgeoning the public with obvious information. Now, what I would say is a blackjack is actually a renowned device for knocking people out. Like I remember, like it's video games, like if you're like old timey assassins and you have a blackjack as a weapon, it's like knock people out. It is kind of like typically like something as a larger, solid, almost like a club type thing, maybe like a wooden thing with like a sphere that's gonna whack to knock things out. So I don't know if you're trying to be symbolic, that would be And if we're getting into like SRA type stuff, that would play into it. But go on. Now we're getting the symbolism of the goat, which is maybe a little bit more heavy-handed than a blackjack.
It seems to be, and this is when you remember the Guccifer 2.0 leaks. And basically, this is all just an extension of PizzaGate, essentially, and Goat Hill Pizza was sort of, I believe, Nancy Pelosi's email account was registered with Goat Hill Pizza, which I thought was interesting. Especially, there's a few others as well, political assets that kind of fit that same exact template. But so it looks as if they're also listed, just as Comet Ping Pong Pizza was, on the donor list, right, for Democratic, right? Yeah, it's very strange. And so again, it's like this is interesting. There's an About Us, and this is fall 1975. At the time, there were few places to eat in the neighborhood. 5 Porterero Hill residents decided to do something about this. Phil DeAndrade, Karen Clark Monley, Ruth Ann Dickinson, and Joel and Loris Lipsky each kicked in some borrowed money and took over the Hollander and a burnt-out ribs and hamburger joint at the corner of 18th in Connecticut. So this matters because this Phil DeAndrade apparently will later come up because he was a former staff member of Nancy Pelosi as recently as even 2013, which is found in this party document that was a staff document that was apparently a list that was leaked as well. But also it looks like they, as I mentioned, they're listed on this strange donorship list of right, these local shops, right, that were apparently auction donors, okay, for the party itself. And anyway, let me pull up an actual visual of this one as well because it's interesting. But yeah, I think that oh yeah, hold on, I gotta show you. Well, I guess I'll show you the place first. But there's a picture of Aziz Ansari, and it freaked me out because he's actually there, right? But this is Goat Hill Pizza specifically. Hold on, let me zoom in. And so obviously you have the goat, but it looked a little bit differently, and as far as
pretty tame from right here,
yeah, it looks a little different from the inside. But let's see here. We have Monday nights all you can eat pizza is a must. This is from Nancy Pelosi's account, apparently on Twitter at the time. But now here's where we find some interesting, but I guess this is kind of par for the course with some of the business registrations as far, but again, Goat Hill Pizza is registered in Panama, right? And as they mention here in this PDF, that this is common security and is normal for websites to have their information hidden this way. But still, it's a little bit strange to have this, kind of offshore subsidy, that you have kind of strategically just, it feels as if it's not only a money laundering operation, but once you begin to see the sort of individuals who are connected to it, it seems to have we're talking about like concerned parents begin to make complaints about this specific pizza place and a group of pedophiles who are associated with it and seem to be meeting there on a regular basis. And so this is when it gets a little strange, obviously. So directly around the corner from Goat Hill Pizza is a meeting site for the San Francisco group that apparently only Nancy Pelosi had this sort of political clout in the area to sort of arrange this. And there's a library, a city public library, where there's a pedophile cult that apparently is a group of pedophiles that meets with over 30 suspected in a sex ring, right? Members of this San Francisco Potrero Hill pedophile operation. And so this is when you have an AP article that was archived from, it looks like, let me see what the date was. It was January 16th, and it was in 92. So this looks like a very long-standing issue with the actual restaurant itself. And it seems like the claim is parents demand San Francisco library oust pedophile group. It says, for 2 years, members of the North American Man-Boy Love Association met quietly at a city library. So we have NAMBLA meeting at the library and this specific pizza restaurant, which again is just like when you realize, and we already have discussed it so very many times as far as the NAMBLA connection to many of these various cases. Paul Bonacci himself is the greatest example, claiming he was there when NAMBLA was formed in Boston, Massachusetts, right, and that he even would distribute pornography internationally on behalf of the organization, right, and fly internationally to help with distributing child pornography. And so, just once again, it's like the more normalization of pedophilia in modern day, and so yeah, once again we have direct connections in with a pedophile group at this San Francisco restaurant that was directly affiliated with Nancy Pelosi and the funding of the Democratic donorship as far as that's concerned. So a sex club, which is apparently attempting to indoctrinate new potential right recruits and initiates, but also find themselves with opportunities to be around children, which is always a part of the I think the strategy itself, but yeah. So I mean, clearly there's not any real like firm, reliable resources or anything that
if you're intersecting with NAMBLA, you're intersecting with some dark shit. I know it's like jokey joke, like South Park, haha. It is kind of like, but they do when you get into books like Eye of the Chicken Hawk or get into like some of that weird dark SRA type stuff, it is not at all common. You find yourself tracing dots that find themselves going through NAMBLA. So yeah, it's a.
Oh wait, this was the picture. This was the picture. This is so fucking nuts. All right, so obviously you remember the pedophile symbol. Tell me that's not it, bro.
Oh yeah, that's it. That's 100% it.
That's it, man. So this is at the pizza parlor itself, Goat Hill Pizza in San Francisco, and it's just a little bit too in your face, honestly. And this is how it was allegedly debunked, because they claim, oh, they're relying on artwork that's a children obviously made by a child, right?
You see what's in the top right above it?
Yeah, the butterfly. Which what one? The fuck do you think that is? The monarch.
The monarch butterfly.
Yeah, man. What the fuck?
No, that's literally a monarch butterfly. Is what that is.
Dude. Like, that's crazy. I'm telling you right now.
And there's another butterfly. Zoom out. There's another one at the top left. I mean, that one's more of a goofy kid one. But it's almost as if they wouldn't let it just sit with the goofy kid one. They're like, well, we got to really drive home the monarch thing. So put an adult monarch painting right next to it. See?
Totally right, dude.
Yeah, look. See the kid one. You're like, well, they're not gonna get it. They're not gonna get it. Put an actual monarch next to it.
This is a trifecta.
Yeah.
And then we have Aziz, Mr. Obviously his sex scandal wasn't that big of a deal.
What else we got there? Still. Zoom out. What's up in the right? Do I see legs? No, those aren't legs. What are those? Oh, those almost look like the pale like legs, like a. Okay, I don't know what that is. All right, I kind of want to see more of the fucked up art in there.
But obviously, he's at this restaurant to promote his new film.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck, man? And Nancy Pelosi has meetings there where they're apparently sort of like, there are events, right? Where they're political events, where they're seemingly, just attempting to, I don't know, serve a political purpose of some kind, but whatever.
I know you're more, this would maybe make more sense for you. You're out in like near LA. I mean, when I went up to you, like, so, I mean, bring that photo back up. To me, that just is odd. You said like, oh, if you don't mind, sorry, I don't mean to be demanding, but just for example, that seems weird to me. Like, yeah, I think of like an author that might go like and do signings or read their book or whatever, and have like set up in a local little tiny, because this is a little pizza place, and he has a fucking poster for a major Hollywood, maybe not like major, it wasn't like a blockbuster, but 30 Minutes or Less was a relatively funny movie. It was pretty decent. It was okay. I mean, it was like So like this is showing in some little fucking rinky. This seems weird. Why would Aziz Ansari be? Is this something they do? Is this like a normal thing in LA? I mean, I guess I could see that as like some niche friend get, but it seems.
I mean, obviously, it was the political connection that would have brought in any sort of celebrity influence or personality to the actual place itself.
But it does seem weird, right?
Oh yeah, hell yeah. No, why the hell would you go to a small pizza place to promote a major Hollywood picture? You know what I mean? It like makes no sense.
As one of the leading actors, like like one of the main names in comedy at that point in time.
How many other places in San Francisco would you are suit for that?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know if that was just normal in LA because there is this hobnobbing vibe I got when I was there, which is like what everyone describes. I mean, we went to the Comedy Store, and you're like, oh, here's that guy I've seen in some skit somewhere on TV one time, and this other guy I've seen in some skit on movie. So it is like that hobnobbing vibe. So I don't know if maybe that's just normal in like Hollywood, LA, but that does seem to me as a layman, that seems fucking weird to me.
Very
like,
fucking
why
weird.
are you doing that?
I'm telling you, man. And again, this company is clearly just using the goat as a symbol itself. And so if there is any real sinister kind of just I believe there truly is. I don't think that I don't think well, first of all, it's the perfect recipe, but then again, it's like, as far as the symbol itself, I just can't believe that this is this conveniently reoccurring symbol that's not directly attempted to or an attempt to reference your loyalties, and what you prefer, which is what it once was, right? That specifically was the little boy lover logo, and that was in the FBI documents, and it's drawn in that way in the child's hand to where it's supposed to be a scribble, and therefore it proves that your preference is little boys. And I think that's what people have to understand, is there's an entire language and coded language, but also the symbols that have been accumulated over time to kind of perfectly represent this sadistic, sexual proclivity that they seem to possess. And so, I feel like they must have at a certain point tried to pivot and come up with new symbols or something, because it's very much out there. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being overexposed to too many of these cases, and so I'm too hyper aware. But it's hard to imagine that. Yeah, for real. But anyway, I don't know. I always thought when I first saw it, like just Goat Hill came across my radar. I mean, it makes all the sense in the world that they would have this. It's a part of the playbook, and I think that Comet Ping Pong Pizza is in no way some sort of standalone example of this enterprise at play. And again, what did they have frequently occurring at Comet Ping Pong? These crazy donor, sort of promotional, just clearly they were attempting to have some sort of political rally or whatever the case was to promote some sort of political legislation of some kind, but also bring in more donorship and more funds financially. But on top of it all, you had what's his name who ran Comet Ping Pong Pizza and
Elefantis.
Elefantis and was boyfriends with the dude that's
Media Matters guy. I don't know.
Yeah, who's directly involved with the Hillary Clinton campaign, and it goes to show that no, Nancy Pelosi would not be. She would clearly be a part of that very playbook, and kind of laundering money to certain donors as well would probably be a part of that, and then kind of creating this network locally to where you can insulate yourself from any sort of accountability or active investigation playing out in any real honest way. And I think that is how many of these areas, like Littleton, Colorado, and Aurora, right, which I discovered that somebody sent me the Aurora Dawn obelisk, man. Did you know about this? This is like a fertility. It essentially is it's this sex goddess, basically, is what it represents. This was there was the Aurora Dawn obelisk was at the Jefferson County Courthouse, man. Now that's where obviously you have Columbine, you have and there's a massive star, an occult star on the base of it as well. And one of them was removed, I believe, there because there were two different obelisks that existed for a time. But yeah, it seems it was where James Holmes was tried and convicted. I'm just like, what the hell? If you're actually considering the idea of like a legitimate occult ritual at every angle, this is potentially where you would have some sort of a compromised case go through trial in a way to where you're legitimately exercising a ritual on a daily basis, with the individual asset that you're strategically hanging out to dry. So I don't know, man.
Which, by the way, what you're referring to is there's literally an obelisk. For those who aren't aware, it's like that structure, the long, like pointed spear coming out of the earth kind of deal. And at the top, there's literally a woman, and she's holding a flame, which I guess is the same symbolic kind of thing as like the Statue of Liberty. So obviously, there's all sorts of symbolism there. So that's interesting for sure. But well, I mean, I think we're at like over 2 hours now. We're as stocked full in symbolism. We've entered in full on schizophrenia after a great episode, Austin. I think this is probably a great place to go ahead and kill it. Where can people find you at, brother? And if you have any other final thoughts, I guess now would be the time to drop them. But yeah, we have gone into full-on pattern recognizing symbolism, which is a great place to end at.
I had to do it for the homie that came on the other day because I did think I should have more like just an ability to draw upon that memory a little bit more. I don't know why I couldn't recall any of the details of the Goat Hill case, but it's mainly because there's not really a smoking gun there, but except for the fact that it's very
weird.
Yeah, it's convenient and extremely strange at the very least. But anyway, so yeah, I'm just excited to once again, kind of get my solo project finished. So that's what I'll be focusing on. And beyond that, you guys know you can support me. The best place is the patreon.com/the Underclass Podcast. We just did episode 32 of whatever this is. And we went like 2 hours. It was a fun one. It was definitely, I just think, man, we are living in a time, right, where it just feels like we're firmly in the trenches, as far as we're in the trenches of kind of on the front lines of the mind war, and I feel like I said this privately at the end of the show last week to the homies in the private chat. Like, I feel very grateful and blessed to be in the trenches with you guys. Like, honestly, man, like, as we are experiencing an unprecedented level of psychological operations and manipulation, and so I just I feel so grateful to be able to have an open-minded conversation with people who aren't so easily offended and are willing to objectively consider new ideas, and it just brings me overwhelming sense of gratitude. So I love you all. I love you, Jose. I appreciate you, brother, more than you know, man.
Love you too, brother. For those who want to support what I'm doing, leave a like, share, subscribe, comment, leave a 5-star review on iTunes or Spotify. You can find the show on YouTube, Rumble, pretty much anywhere you get podcasts at. On X as well. You can follow me on Twitter at TowerGangJose. If you want to support the show in the best way you can do that with money over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020, or you can look right here. There is a QR code right there you can use if you like that doodad. Over at patreon.com/NoWayJose2020. The lowest level is $2. That you get access to a whole host of perks. You get early episodes. I usually do about 1 to 2 paywalled episodes per week. Usually keep about 4 behind the paywall at any given time. So that's weeks of paywall content. You also get access to ad-free RSS feed. You also get access to Telegram. And you get access to the pre-show and the post-show and video calls for this show right here, Already Dead, which is on Tuesdays at 9:30 p.m. Eastern. So we're getting ready to go hang out with the chat here in a minute. And at the highest level is my sponsors, and I give them a big shout-out for their support. I have my previous co-host on Tower Gang, at Toad, also at AbrogatoDeeds, at ZLVRCK, at _Invisible, Tim Tuttle, at Jolly Cleve Boldness, the homie, Will Bell, Delicious Blueberry Rabbit Eye Wine, big fan of the show, Torrin May, at Wayne Taculus, a yellow polka dot dress, and Mark Vestibule. And with that, guys, love you all. We're going to get out of here. Do all the things, support all the shows, all the things. We're out of here. Love you all. Bye-bye. See you next week. We're out.